Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you kindly for stopping by. Let me start off by just reminding you that we have a Mind Speak this Saturday. We serve breakfast at 9:30 a.m. We start at 10. We're done by 12. After a long absence, we've got the CEO of Safaricom, Mr. Bob Collymore, in the house. Take a look at this teaser that we put together. And you will remember that the first Mind Speak Bob did with us was actually in Westgate. And, I was reminded of that fact when I looked at the teaser. Safaricom has returned 31.16% on a total return basis in 2016, vastly outperforming the Nairobi All-Share Index, which was minus 5.15% over the same dates. He's delivered a return of 711% during his tenure. And he's done much more than that, but that just is, the markets tend to be a very efficient signal. Macro thoughts, Trumponomics. I like this image that was tweeted by Bloomberg. And just to go back to what I was writing over the weekend and what I think Trumponomics equals, I think the QE consensus is dead in the water, stone cold dead. I think Trumponomics is going to accelerate the trend of higher interest rates and a stronger dollar. He's proposing to cut taxes, increase spending. Very positive for the stock markets. It's accelerating a global flight to quality and a stampede back into US assets. Higher interest rates are obviously propelling the dollar as well. But we are, and this is an important point, watching the cratering of the QE consensus. Take you back to comments made by Prime Minister Theresa May. People with assets have got richer, people without them have suffered, people with mortgages have found their debts cheaper, people with savings have found themselves poorer. A change has got to come and we're going to deliver it because that's what a conservative government can do. Prime Minister May and President-elect Trump have been propelled to power on the back of older, mostly white folks, many of whom have seen their hard-earned savings over a lifetime now earn them a paltry return and a negative one in many cases. When all the now dumbfounded pollsters reach their mea culpa moment, they will all realize that they underestimated the frustration and anger of this constituency. I don't know what's happening to the lights up there, but anyway, a little bit of drama for the podcast. QE consensus, as I said, is dead in the water, stone cold dead. Trumponomics is going to accelerate this trend, in my opinion. Home thoughts. It was a pleasure attending the King's Day at the Belgian Embassy yesterday. They served the most incredibly strong, fine beer. So I'll be very careful with that. And I'll put up a photograph of the Deputy Prime Minister Didier Reynders, who was a guest at Mind Speak, toasting the King of Belgium at that function. Went back to On the Road, Jack Kerouac, nothing behind me, everything ahead of me, as is ever so on the road. This is the road that I imagine he was talking about. It's a Robert Frank photograph. Jack Kerouac wrote about this road in this photograph. A long shot of night road, arrowing forlorn into immensities and flat of impossible to believe America in New Mexico under the prisoner's moon. I, of course, lived many years in London, and I like this photograph of Greenwich, the photo hour, storm hour by Joanna Moroney. Curator's pick, tomb relief, Palmyra, Syria, on fantastic and arresting, and they've tried to destroy that civilization. It's so cruel. I like this photograph from David Yarrow, rainy day, doing some desk work, stumbled across this moment with the Dinka tribe. I remember such a buzz from feeling so far from home. Political reflections. Ladbrokes opened the market at 3-1, cutting it to 5-2 and again to 9-4. Ladbrokes has cut the odds on Donald Trump leaving office early due to impeachment or resignation amid mounting controversy about how he will manage his business interests after becoming America's 45th president. Number of professors say the controversial Republican is heading for trouble. I conclude by saying he needs to get some serious conflict of interest, legal advice, and take that advice. The Independent is saying the potential for a conflict of interest between those of America and those of Donald Trump are unprecedented. CNN Politics, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn on a trip to Russia said who knows whether the 2013 Syria gas attack was a false flag. The thing is, he's not wrong. We saw this in a very interesting piece written by Seymour Hersh in the London Review of Books. And I think that's why President Obama sidestepped his red line, because he realized it was a kind of trap. So I think actually Michael Flynn, who I disagree with on so many issues, but in some he's actually speaking the truth. This is one example. I wish I didn't have to go to Texas, JFK, this day in 1963. Put up a photograph of him as well. Happy birthday, Joe, the best VP and friend I could have had alongside me these past years. They had a tremendous connection, didn't they? Adolf Hitler at the Kroll Opera House in Berlin, 1939. Rahman, French presidential election, most likely Fillon versus Le Pen. This is Bloomberg surveillance. NHK urges people on the coast of Fukushima to evacuate immediately. There was another aftershock there. Ringside with Steve Bannon and Trump Towers, the president-elect's strategist, plots an entirely new political movement. I'm not a white nationalist, I'm a nationalist. I'm an economic nationalist, he said. Darkness is good, says Bannon, who amid the suits surrounding him at Trump Tower looks like a graduate student in his t-shirt, open button down, and tatty blue blazer, albeit a 62-year-old graduate student. Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, Satan, that's power. It only helps us when they, I believe by they he means liberals in the media, already promoting calls for his ouster, get it wrong when they're blind to who we are and what we're doing. I am, he says with relish, Thomas Cromwell in the court of the Tudors. Returning to the Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium, Didier Reynders, he said at a function in the evening, most of the terrorist acts in Europe were committed by young people who were born, educated and lived in our cities. Currency markets, euro dollar 106.13, dollar index 100.89, dollar yen 111.09, Swissy 100.95, pound 124.74. The Aussie is at 0.7381, India rupee 68.185, South Korean won 11.7514, Brazilian real 338.53, Egyptian pound, that's softened up, 17.3965, South African rand 14.2163. Dollar index, let me put up the 3-month chart. My target is now 110. Have a look at this share price comparison between Deutsche Bank, Citi and JP Morgan. This is from Holger. Inside a money-making machine like no other, Bloomberg, 60 miles east of Wall Street, a spit of land shaped like a whale's tail separates Long Island Sound and Conscience Bay. The mansions here with their long gated driveways and million-dollar views are part of a hamlet called Old Field. Locals have another name for these moneyed lanes, the Renaissance Riviera. That's because the area's wealthiest residents, scientists all, work for the quantitative hedge fund Renaissance Technologies. They are the creators and overseers of the Medallion Fund, perhaps the world's greatest money-making machine. Medallion is open only to Renaissance's roughly 300 employees, about 90 of whom are PhDs, as well as select few individuals with deep-rooted connections to the firm. The fabled fund, known for its intense secrecy, has produced about $55 billion in profit over the last 28 years. Making it about $10 billion more profitable than funds run by billionaires Ray Dalio and George Soros. They are the pinnacle of quant investing. No one else is even close. Fantastic, interesting story. Do take a look at the returns, what they're doing. Speech recognition and translation are the intersection of math and computer science, said Ernie Chan, who worked at the research center in the mid-1990s. At the 2013 conference, Brown referenced an example they once shared with outside Medallion investors. By studying cloud cover data, they found a correlation between sunny days and rising markets from New York to Tokyo. Turns out when it's cloudy in Paris, the French market is less likely to go up than when it's sunny in Paris. Wasn't a big money maker though, because it was true only slightly more than 50% of the time. Very interesting. Commodity markets, Goldman Sachs goes overweight for the first time in nearly 5 years. Gold, 12-16 trading, can't see it rebounding anywhere very fast. Producer hedger bets on WTI oil rise to the highest since 2007. Oil traders bought record number of calls on November the 15th. Let's see how it plays out, but it suddenly had a good 5-day rally. Take a look at it, $48.67 in New York, Brent over 50. WOA, Venezuela's state oil company, only makes partial coupon payments, screw up, or the pin finally dropping. This is Robin Week. South African all share is up down 0.19% this year, just above $50,000 rand, around the 1421 level. Two schools of thought with the rand. One is that the emerging markets have a lot priced into them. There's room for it to appreciate. But I think, we still have a political denouement ahead of us, which will roil the rand. The Egyptian pound, that's backed off a little bit, back at 17.3965 last time I checked. Let's go to Nigeria. Over the weekend, I said this is taking policy-making insanity to a whole new level. I was talking about new FX controls. And I said, what is unfolding in Nigeria is a debacle of spectacular and monstrous proportions, worthy of a Nollywood movie all of its own. Foreign policy, fool Nigeria once, shame on you, fool Nigeria twice. It's been a tough year for Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. The mood in Africa's most populous nation is a far cry from the euphoria that greeted his historic 2015 election, the first time in Nigeria's history that an opposition candidate unseated an incumbent president in a democratic election. For weeks and even months after the vote, Buhari was a media darling, praised at home and extolled abroad. Since then, the cheers have turned to jeers, even from members of the president's own party, the APC. Meanwhile, his administration cowers under attacks from a disillusioned electorate, members of the opposition, even Buhari's wife Aisha, who said she might not vote for him in 2019 when he is up for re-election. What's behind the swift unraveling of Buhari's presidency is an ability to formulate a coherent economic plan as Nigeria tipped into recession, and unwillingness to make crucial decisions as basic as appointing a cabinet in a timely manner certainly didn't help. But the main reason Buhari has lost the support of his countrymen is that the last years revealed the central premise of his candidacy to be false. The man who claimed in the campaign to be a reformed Democrat has proved to be the same old authoritarian showman who ruled Nigeria in the early 1980s. Nigeria's economy contracted for the third consecutive quarter. GDP contracted 2.2% in the 3 months through September from a year earlier. The economy expanded a non-seasonally adjusted 9% from the second quarter, so a little bit of a bounce Q3 versus Q2. Nigeria all share down 10.95% this year. Ghana's central bank has cut its benchmark rate for the first time since 2011, token cut. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 15.67% this year. Now, have a look at this screenshot from somebody I follow on Twitter, Kariuki, talking about Ethiopia and what seems to be a state-driven buyout. Well, it's not even a buyout. It looks like a forced sale of shares held in banks and insurance companies by Ethiopians living abroad. I concluded by saying this is just insane. I go back to the 7th of October when I wrote another piece about the uncertainty there, said the reputation had been shattered by political tensions. It's going to be shattered even more if this goes through. UC promises to discuss peace with Lakama. Apparently, Mozambique has unveiled more details of its previously hidden debts. The Eurobonds, which fell to a record low of 56 on the dollar on October 31st, were trading at 66 yesterday. And I wrote about this on the 31st of October, Mozambique from boom to bust, a cautionary tale. Do take a look. 907 days ago, I was in Maputo for the IMF conference, which was called Africa Rising. Fall from Grace is pretty Shakespearean. Unequal Scenes, TEDx, Johannesburg. Take a look at this. Photographs of Nairobi. Wherever you are in Nairobi, you're next to an informal settlement. This is the security risk for a lot of people, I think, in many ways, that an explosion can burst out very, very quickly. Some more photos. This one is of Kibera being bisected by a traffic bypass. Kenya shilling 101.85, topped 102 yesterday. Nairobi all share down 5.15% this year. Kenol Cobil up 3.16% yesterday. It closed at a 2016 high, up 36.45% this year. Stanbic is taking over a bakery for failure to service a loan. This is in Mombasa. The NSE 20 is down 18.73% year to date. I saw an announcement from the central bank that the State Bank of Mauritius is to buy out Fidelity Bank. That long-awaited consolidation now seems to be in play. Moving on to the stock market yesterday, ticked lower. The all share down 0.53 points. NSE 20 down 7.31 points. Safaricom was the most actively traded counter, closed at 20. Bob Collimore's at Mindspeak this Saturday. You're most welcome. It's been a bull outlier for a number of years, up 31.16% on a total return basis this year. I'm expecting fresh all-time highs before year end. The presidential spokesman, we spoke about this, Manoa Esipisu, tweeted over the weekend, the Central Bank of Kenya's mandate is to regulate banks as in full control of the situation, must be allowed to do its work. Kenol Cobil, as we said, closed at a record, up 36.45% year to date, one of the outperformers in the Securities Exchange. See you Saturday. And then, of course, don't forget, we have this Latin America-Africa Summit Thursday and Friday at Windsor Golf Club. Hope you can try and make it.